Tonight on KGW News, Portland's next leaders emerge from a packed field of candidates.
Now they're looking ahead to a brand new form of government.
But I think that 10 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to know that this was the right decision.
Plus, a major cliffhanger when it comes to the balance of power in D.C.
This race is a must-win for both sides.
As we focus in on the local congressional races still too close to call. Then later.
Just unbelievably loud.
The election night surprise that neighbors in North Portland say is just the latest straw when it comes to feeling unsafe. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. A day after the election, and we now know who will be Portland's next mayor. The Oregonian this evening calling the race for trucking company CEO Keith Wilson. Wilson has kept his commanding lead from Tuesday night. The top two contenders behind him, Carmen Rubio and Renee Gonzalez, both conceded the race tonight.
Wilson's campaign says he plans to make an official acceptance speech tomorrow. In a statement tonight, Wilson saying, quote, "Voters in every corner of our city have made their voices heard. They want change and for local leadership to work together to solve the issues our community faces. We have some very challenging days ahead, and we don't know what's around the corner. We need all of us to lift each other up and accomplish what we can for our city." As for Portland's city council seats, there are still a lot of unknowns. Here are the leading candidates in District 1, that's east of I-205, Climate Justice advocate Candace Avalos, former Multnomah County Commissioner Loretta Smith, and lobbyist Jamie Dunphy. In District 2, North Portland, the leading candidates continue to be Samir Kanal, inclusive policy manager for the city of Portland, policy and advocacy consultant Alana Pertle-Guinea, and City Commissioner Dan Ryan.
And we know of at least one winner in District 3, that's Inner Southeast. The Oregonian has called one seat for former City Commissioner Steve Novick. Public school teacher Tiffany Koyama Lane and policy advocate Angelita Murillo are leading the pack after him. Finally, in District 4, west of the Willamette, policy advocate Olivia Clark is a projected winner here, with energy economist Mitch Green and Eric Zimmerman, chief of staff to County Commissioner Brim Edwards, rounding out the top three.
And tonight we're hearing from those two projected winners, Clark and Novick, about their goals when they take office next year. Here is Catherine Cook.
Elected leaders within Portland's new form of government are emerging. By Wednesday night, the Oregonian had called winners of two seats for Portland's new 12-person city council, Steve Novick for District 3 and Olivia Clark for District 4.
I really appreciate their confidence in my ability to take on this task.
Clark is a retired policy director for TriMet. She hopes Portland's new form of government, 4 districts with 3 people each, can restore the community's confidence in the city's ability to deliver.
How will you know if you guys have succeeded?
I think that you'll quit seeing that sort of vitriol between the city and the county. You'll see more housing on the continuum of housing for homelessness as well as for all different income levels. I hope that we see the city of Portland become more user-friendly for everyone.
I think this system is going to be good for Portland.
Steve Novick is no stranger to Portland government. He served on city council from 2013 to 2017. He's grateful for the chance to come back under new circumstances.
I did think it'd be useful to have somebody with not just the experience of getting things done at City Hall, but the humility that comes with experience.
Outer Foster Road and Outer Halsey.
Looking back, Novick says he's most proud of 2 achievements: spearheading Portland's voter-approved gas tax to help fund road improvements, and placing a fence around Portland's Vista Bridge, where for years people had died by suicide.
One of my, most prized possessions is I have a scroll that was signed by a bunch of people who were friends and family members of somebody who had jumped off the bridge. And they said, "You could not save our friend, but we know you'll save future lives."
Looking forward, Novick is anxious to tackle current issues like homelessness, public safety, and climate change, all as part of a team of 12.
There's going to be some growing pains, but I think that 10 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to know that this was the right decision.
Both Clark and Novick hope the person hired to serve as Portland's city manager will also steer the city towards success. And remember, we're still waiting for 10 more seats to be called. The next round of votes will be released at 6 p.m. Thursday. That may shed light on more projected city council winners. Back to you.
Yeah, 2 down, 10 to go. Thanks so much, Catherine. You know, we're also watching the balance of power in Congress, where all eyes are on the more than 36 House seats that have yet to be called tonight.
Last night, NBC News projected Republicans would take control of the Senate, flipping 3 seats from blue to red.
In the House, the magic number is 218. You see it here. Republicans have the edge, but Democrats still have a shot, and they aren't far behind. The questions tonight: will Republicans control both chambers of Congress and the White House? And of course, when will we know? One of the seats still too close to call, Washington's 3rd. That's the rematch between Democratic Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez and Republican Joe Kent. Right now, the incumbent has a 3-point lead, give or take, over her challenger.
Oregon's 5th district race is another big one. New returns today show incumbent Republican Lori Chavez-DeRemer trailing Democratic challenger Janelle Bynum by just over 2 points. About 7,000 votes separate them. Let's get right to Alma McCarty in the newsroom. Alma, you've been keeping an eye on both of these races.
Yeah, David, Christine, it is really no surprise that it's still too close to call either Oregon's 5th or Washington's 3rd congressional district. Both sides saw lots of money funneled into these campaigns, in part because each district could flip red to blue or blue to red.
More than 24 hours after the final ballots were cast, 2 local key congressional districts are still up in the air, and the candidates still waiting.
The most important thing you can do right now is check to ensure that your ballot has been accepted.
One of the things is I'm really encouraged to see how the numbers have grown in a lot of rural communities.
As of Wednesday night in Washington, Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez holding a slight lead over Republican Joe Kent with around 12,000 votes.
Assumption on Kent's part was that voters were going to be Republicans and Trump voters, and that if they were going to be Trump voters, they were going to be Kent voters. And Perez took a different perspective. She said, look, I am my own candidate. Yes, I'm part of the Democrat Party, but I am not going to be beholden to everything that the party believes in.
And in Oregon, Democrat Janelle Bynum ahead of Republican Lori Chavez-DeRemer by less than 8,000. Mark Stefan, a political science professor at Washington State University in Vancouver, calls both races a big deal.
This race is a must-win for both sides, and in particular, the Democrats can't afford to lose it because they're trying to pick up some extra seats in order to get control of the House.
On social media Wednesday, Gluesenkamp-Perez noted how they're closing in, while Kent wrote it's still too early to call. Neither Bynum nor Chavez-DeRemer gave an additional statement, though late on election night, both thanked their supporters and asked for patience while all votes in the district are still being counted.
Now to recap, neither race has been called. We'll be sure to stay on top of it as ballot counting continues over the coming days. Now back in 2022, it took days to call these districts, and final results showed both were extremely close. David, Christine, back to you.
A lot of people exercising patience at this point. Thank you so much, Alma. Meantime, former President Donald Trump will return to the White House in 2025 after a decisive win against Vice President Kamala Harris.
Earlier today, Harris called Trump to concede and then addressed her supporters one final time. NBC's Bree Jackson has more.
Vice President Kamala Harris delivering a heartfelt concession speech from her alma mater, Howard University.
My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve.
Speaking in front of hundreds of supporters, Harris acknowledging her election loss while vowing to continue the fight for reproductive rights and other issues that drove her campaign.
I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people.
The vice president calling President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his win and pledging a peaceful transfer of power. Mr. Trump taking a victory lap even before his opponent conceded.
This was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond.
The day capping off an election cycle filled with twists and turns, including President Biden ending his re-election bid less than 4 months before Election Day. The president praising Harris for stepping up to lead an historic campaign and congratulating President-elect Trump for his 2024 election win. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
And while there are people celebrating Trump's return to the White House, others say they are fearful of what it could mean for democracy. We spoke to some people in Newburgh today to get their thoughts on the election results. Many people said they did not feel comfortable sharing with us, but here are a few who did.
Just terrified that the future president is going to do what he said he's going to do.
We got to see the Biden-Harris administration, and I think that people were dissatisfied.
That was the chair of the Washington County GOP. He believes the inflation we saw over the last few years is why more swing voters broke for Trump in this election. Trump will be sworn into office January 20th. On day one of his presidency, he has promised to begin the largest deportation in American history.
Well, at this point, there have been no large-scale protests in Portland following the election, though we have seen a few gatherings around downtown tonight. One here, one group rallied at Pioneer Courthouse Square carrying Palestinian and pride flags. Others wearing all black or gathering around the Justice Center. Portland police have all officers on duty this week. Tonight, we saw a notable increase in bike cops on patrol. Earlier today, Chief Bob Day saying election night was relatively quiet, but says authorities are not letting their guard down, adding a message to Portlanders that a free speech event is not permission to engage in any kind of criminal activity.
Well, if you're looking for other election results not covered here on TV, you can always text the word election to the number there on your screen. That is 503-226-5088. We'll text you back with a link directly to our results page on KGW.com. Again, that number 503-226-5088.